with gold setting a new record and silver soaring to nearly 48 Oz, it was another fantastic day for the precious metals. We'll go into the causes for the recent price increases in gold and silver, as well as why this bull run is far from over. There is, without a doubt, more ground to cover, and I will elaborate on why. While we go in, let's discuss it. Yes, I understand. There is additional upward potential for gold and silver, in particular, according to most experts, both professional and community. In regards to silver, I am feeling really good. The silver market has never made me feel better, and I intend to be bullish for the foreseeable future. From a long-term perspective, I like to think positively. Currently, this channel provides you with the most recent news and analysis from the precious metals industry. I normally base my commentary on the day's movement in gold and silver prices. But if you love what I do here, I hope you'll consider subscribing and giving the channel a thumbs up. Some people don't get it because they don't pay attention, but I'm glad to hear that the majority of you do. I keep stressing that we should be focusing on the big picture, but I do think it's helpful to know what's influencing the price daily, so that we can rejoice or mourn together when it falls significantly. However, the majority of you also see this as an opportunity. In a surprising move, it is divided among the metals today. There was a drop in platinum, palladium, and rhodium prices today. Only precious metals like gold and silver are doing well. Here, the price of gold rose $3.80 or 0.1% to $3,163.50. But we did observe a spike to $3,196.30 earlier in the day, just $370 short of $3,900. Incredible what we witnessed earlier today. Earlier in the day, silver also experienced a sharp increase, reaching $47.87, which is just 0.13 short of 48. I conducted a poll during my Sunday night market program. I wanted to know your thoughts on whether you think silver would reach $48 by the weekend, as this is the only channel that reports on the precious metal markets. The markets in Asia are about to open. Now that we're halfway through the week, we were only 0.13 away. By the weekend, I'm hoping we'll have made it there. At its current price of $47.26, up 0.57 or 1.22%, silver is once again consolidating, but I still believe it is prepared to surge higher. The price of platinum, palladium, and rhodium has all fallen, but platinum has down more than 1%. Then why is this happening? For one thing, the government shutdown is a major topic. The reason why the price of gold is going higher is that many news organizations are discussing it. Interestingly, gold futures closed at a record $3,197.50 per ounce, while spot gold was at the price I just mentioned, and the futures market nearly saw $4,000 per ounce for gold, as the US government entered its first shutdown in nearly 7 years, due to lawmakers failing to reach a deal on government funding. Although government shutdowns and markets typically have little effect, the timing of this particular shutdown is noteworthy. The postponement of the release of crucial US jobs data, which was supposed to be released on Friday, has cast a shadow over the Federal Reserve's prospects in the weeks leading up to its next meeting. In addition, President Trump has implied that he will utilize the shutdown as an opportunity to lay off a large number of government workers, who are typically furloughed during such periods and then reinstated to their jobs after the closure concludes. The length of the shutdown is also uncertain because there is no apparent way to reach an agreement. During Donald Trump's first term, there was a record-breaking 34-day partial shutdown, so it's certain that there will be a dispute with both sides blaming each other. I won't enter into that argument with you, but it's clear that further guesswork is inevitable given the way the figures are reported. Much with the bad jobs report that came out earlier, the Federal Reserve is expected to keep cutting interest rates in anticipation of much worse news on Friday. And if these cuts go through, it's only natural that more government jobs will be cut. Although gold's reputation as a safe haven has received a lot of attention, the fact that its price has been steadily climbing for the past few years is absolutely remarkable. In fact, chief equity strategist at Morningstar, Michael Field, claims that the metal hits new highs every day. Listen, he said in an email to CNBC on Wednesday, and I'll tell you what, if you're going to buy gold, this is the kind of gold you should think about acquiring. I'm currently in the process of filling up this card holder from Summit Metals. It's a neat little wallet, about the size of a business card. Inside, you can store your gram size bars, which are a great way to acquire a nice amount of gold. These Scottsdale bars are bigger and slightly thinner than your average 1 gram bars, but that's what makes them special. When you fill up one of these, you feel accomplished. There isn't a bullion company like Summit Metals. They have their own precious metals holdings like this. If you're interested, you may visit their website by clicking the link in the description below. You're coming there from this channel, so it's kind of like an affiliate link. Well, not quite. The US government shutdown, he said, was the impetus for today's rally. According to Field, this was just the final straw that pushed the price of gold northward. Investors are facing a very unstable situation due to ongoing conflicts, political instability in France, and newly announced tariffs. So, when things get tough, gold gets a boost. Philip Gassel, Chief Strategy Officer at BNP Paribas Fortis, has long held the view that gold can cross the $4,000 mark, and he now believes the metal can go even higher. Gold is fast closing in on the $4,000 target that we put forward about a year and a half ago. We said back then the move was solely driven by central bank buying, while investors were net sellers of the yellow metal. But since the beginning of the year, investors have come on board, which has clearly accelerated the move to the upside. He argued that amidst ongoing uncertainty and volatility in an environment of sticky inflation across the globe, investors were broadly taking the view that they should diversify away from the classic 60-40 portfolio strategy with hard assets like gold. There very clearly are early in the game, as gold is gold. Relative related investments are barely 2% of average investment portfolio worldwide. To say it in baseball terms, we are only in the second or third inning. $4,000 will not be the end point, just as the start of the strongest bull market and the precious metals the world has ever seen. So we'll take that for what it's worth for gold, he says. And I think you can probably multiply that with silver, I feel, which would mean triple-digit silver easy. But now, I don't know that I necessarily agree with that. But we'll see how that plays out through the course of time. And we expect gold's bull run, according to Joni Tevez, as to continue over the coming months or quarters, driven by rising investor positions and a continued broadening in gold's investors base, with the Fed easing cycle, underweight dollar weakness, and declining real rates should be bullish for gold's price. Tevis, none of the UBS expected the rally to taper off towards the end of 2026, and in anticipation of the end of the Fed's easing cycle and improving economic conditions. That said, given the structural shift and gold's role to becoming a core part of the strategic asset allocations, we expect the correlated correction to ultimately be continued and for prices to stabilize at historically higher levels in the long run. And the same could be same for silver stabilized and to higher levels in the long run, which is why I said at the beginning of the video, I always look as far as holding these metals beyond just the short-term price gains in the bull market. What will it be on the other side of that bull run? I don't know, but likely it's going to be much higher than where it was before that bull run. Even when adjusted for inflation, I think it's going to outperform that. And that's a pretty bold statement. Coming from somebody like me, who I consider myself about as the most realist as I can conceive of. I like to be real about the metals. there's more to them than just their price. But I like to be realistic about the price proposition. And we look through a course of time, through the last 100 years, and even through the last 50 years. If you play your cards right and dollar cost average accordingly, you will preserve your wealth. And I think the same definitely can be said for gold. And you don't have to be even that great of a card player for gold. But with silver, you got to be a little bit more strategic. However, if you've started stacking this year, well, you just keep buying and you're doing good. You've seen pretty much nothing but this bull run with silver. And silver especially is a metal that I think has two things going for it right now. It's got one, it is following in gold's footsteps as a precious metal, as a hedge against economic instability and the madness that we're seeing around the world today. But number two is even more important. It has a dual role as an industrial metal. And really, there's so many uses for silver, over 10,000 of them, that there is an aspect of the silver market that with those uses in science and technology and other aspects, that really even recessions can't stop it. At least they can. They can maybe slow it down slightly, but only for a short amount of time. In other words, we may see a crash, a flash crash in silver's price, if there's a massive economic shock. But it's going to recover, I think even quicker than what it's seen before, to some extent. We're seeing some of that play out now. And with some of these more recent pullbacks, even sharp pullbacks, I'll recover very, very quickly, move on. And here we are now sitting well above 47 an ounce, man. It is literally within spitting distance at 50 right now. And I think that most everybody agrees we're going to get there soon. So there it is now. Let me know what your thoughts are about today's market report and make sure to check out video. I posted this morning about another metal that I think is in even greater position to potentially move up and a bull run with it. So with that being said, I'd like to extend a multitude of gratitude to each and every one of you for taking the time to watch and to encourage you to please rate, post, remark, and sign up for. This was transcribed using turboscribe.ai. Remove this message by subscribing to Unlimited.